Hey everybody, it's Doom here, and I am going to make a template for a creeping vines that is 30 foot in diameter for a specific monster I want to run. Now, some of you that know how I operate, I don't use the monsters the way they're designed in the book. That's just not my thing. What I do is kind of what I want. It's a problem I have. I don't feel like D&D by itself and in general has enough variation or interesting things going on. So I have over the years just kind of, even every time I run a monster, I might change something about it. I don't obviously change everything, every monster, but many of them I just do. It's just a problem with me. It's a me thing. Many of you love D&D and everything about it, and I understand that. But I mean, I don't even use Hasbro products anymore. Besides this monster manual I used to make these things for you guys. I run my own stuff. I have so many variations of things that I use. And, you know, unless it's a generic elf or orc or something, and even my elves and orcs have different backstories and different styles. You know, it's everything I do now. I've really gotten away from Hasbro stuff. I don't like the way they treat their customers. I am not on board with Team Digital Age. Not that I'm against it, because there are people that's the way they're going to play. But I'm not for it either, because I am a tabletop guy. I always will be a tabletop guy. I will try the other stuff for other people's sake. I do tell you that, because I'm not a bad person in general. But I will say that my intent is to stay on the tabletop. The interactions and the laughing and the fun and the sharing of food and drink, these things are important to me. This trick here with a tinfoil, using tinfoil or a piece of asphalt. I knew this old wargamer. He used to make these really beautiful, elaborate trays to put his soldiers on, and he would really go into this. There's actually a YouTuber who I haven't seen a video from for a long time, but he still might exist. His name was Mel the Terrain Tutor, and he reminded me of that dude. He made really intricate pieces. I just like to make pieces that are good for the tabletop. Intricacy is not my bag, baby. But, you know, I like to spend a little bit of time on a craft and have something decent to throw on the table. That's me. But anyways, this tinfoil thing, he had a chunk of asphalt. Well, he had a couple of chunks of asphalt in a tackle box and some balls of tinfoil of different sizes. Like, I have a couple different ones. This one has, bigger bumps and stuff in it, and the other one has more, small, fine stuff. But the dude had just multiple tools he used for this, and he would go over different parts of the train and talk about what that was going to be, and he was amazing. It was super cool. But I'm not that guy. I'm Doom. And I'm just a guy in my basement, and that guy was kind of a professional. He made stuff for tournaments, game stores paid him to make stuff. He was a good crafter. I, my friends, am a dude in my basement, and I am ghetto. So what I want this template to do for me is where if it hits a miniature or two in the combat, I want to be able to put some miniatures down in such a way that this won't interfere with them too heavily, but it will give me the look I want. So how I plan on doing that is by kind of having some different sticking up portions and then having the rest of it be not sticking up. You know what I mean? Be part of the groundwork that a miniature could stand on quite easily. That's what I want to accomplish here. For your tabletop, you might have different goals and different ideas, and that's okay. Do your thing. Don't always copy what I'm doing. Steal a couple ideas if you like them. Grab a technique of how I decorate, if that's what you want to do. Then make your stuff. But don't feel ever obligated to copy me. Especially in some of my miniatures, if you've seen them. They are stupid. Some of my miniatures look so bad it hurts my feelings. The killer rabbit of Carabanog was fun. Fun time. Okay. So what I'm doing now is just creating some very thin vines to kind of pluck around and create the illusion that this stuff's growing out of the ground and there's a lot of it. And a lot of doing this on your tabletop is illusion, okay? It's about giving the look of something. When you don't have to play with miniatures, obviously, but when you do, there's something that happens when you can make it a little immersive by adding that, like, fairy tale realism, I call it. The right colors and the right kind of shapes and the right expectations, and they all kind of work in the way you need them to. I'm not sure what time it is. I have to get ready to game after a while here. So anyways, just if you're using miniatures, keep in mind that it's all about the image for immersion and not so much about the perfection. It's not about scale necessarily. It's not about realism necessarily. So this would be akin to like a entanglement spell or a wild growth spell cast on plants. I think wild growth is actually an animal cast, but this would be something like that. You know, you're trying to trip people up using nature. And so one of my enemies that I'm running in my Tomorrow Comes Doom game, this is kind of like their thing. They don't kill you immediately. They wear you out over a period of days by stalking you through the wilderness and casting spells and making you waste resources and get frustrated until you're not really concerned anymore. Just to that moment where you think, well, you know what, we're just wasting a lot of time worrying about this thing. It never does anything. And that's when it comes. That's when it gets you. That's when it rears its hideous form and comes to devour you. And the creature, it starts out as like a shaman or a druid. And then after a long time of dealing with Fae and other problems that infuriate it, it starts to slowly go mad. And then that's when problems ensue. So in order to capture leaves, I'm not spending a whole amount of time here trying to make perfect leaves. So what I want to do is I just want to make some generic diamonds. Kind of like this. And then I'm just going to get a dab of glue and pull these around until they're kind of stuck there. And you can use as much or as little glue as you want on that part. I want mine to be a little sturdy because I'm going to be doing some dry brushing probably. Maybe. Who knows? I'll be just some kind of brushing. And then also, if you have an initiate type caster, a low level caster that has access to this kind of spell, I think 30 foot is kind of like the radius of it, but I use it for the diameter. I don't like spells to be too overwhelming at low level, but I like their impact to be useful and reasonable and worthwhile for using. But I do not like their size to be overwhelming. So what I do in the Tomorrow Comes Doom system is as you tier up into different strength areas, you, over time, gradually increase the general range and size of spells. So that's how I do that for my system. But I also don't have levels or classes. So if you were to be a shaman, it's more so a description of a feat tree that you worked into, or a focus, as I call them. And that's essentially what they are. I have something like feats. I call them talents. And you build your entire character spending points between your proficiencies, your attributes, and your talents. Nice. Did not count or plan, and had just as many as I needed for what I'm trying to accomplish. Alright, so we need more glue. Like I said, we want the miniatures to be able to stand on this. Okay, so we can take this part and let that cool for a second. Then we'll hit it with the spider web removal tool. While we're waiting for that part, let's get some sand. And just kind of get it in a couple areas where we want it to be a little more intense flock-wise. And we're just going to get some super glue and kind of drip it down in there. And it will spread out some. Okay. Now for the rest of the flock, we can shake that off in the garbage. Now let's let that sit and dry. And then I'm going to burn off the glue. And then we're going to come back in part two. I'm going to base coat this. And then we're going to come back in part two and paint it. So I'd like to thank you guys for taking the time to watch with me. If you're wondering what I'm doing right now, I'm actually just getting some of the super glue that's exposed. I'm just kind of covering some of that up with some flock. But we're going to come back in part two and work on this a little bit more and see how it turns out. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your time. I know there's a lot of cool YouTube channels out there doing a lot of cooler stuff than I am. I appreciate that you're here. And we'll see you next time in part 2. We'll paint my entanglement or wild growth or whatever you're trying to call yours. We'll paint it. So please like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell icon, and if you really wanted to, you could share it. And we'll come back, and this will be getting ready to paint. Thanks for watching.